Yins guys, thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and well, you just got me tonight. So Jake will not be on tonight. I'll be honest with you. I forget why. He told me the other night that he was getting off so that he could pack. And I remember that. I just don't. I think he's just a working late tonight. But he's got a trip coming up not too long from now going over to the West Coast. And so we'll have a couple of these. But we got a tough series this weekend. And so no shortage of things to talk about this week. And so we're gonna kind of get into that. I'm gonna ask. We're gonna try to do things a little bit different tonight, as far as the way that I can go way off topic and everything. So I will ask the chat, keep it on topic as much as we can, and we are going to make sure that we include a lot of the chat in today. But then I might take some of it out of the audio and just keep it for here. We've been going pretty long with the trade deadline stuff, and so I know that it's not favorable to have hour and a half shows for everybody, but I mean, I'd be on here for 2 hours, but nobody wants to hear me for 2 hours. So Pit City What is in the chat today. Drew, you're in the chat today. Let's go. We've got a couple in here already. Pit City What, by the way, says the Mets Brewers lost. Cards are losing. That helps ease the pain. We're going to talk about the pain tonight and how we're feeling. Let's get a pulse for, I mean, there's been so many takes going across the board. We're going to talk about all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about like a specific player, a specific decision for the weekend and things like that. And a few other things. Let me start with White Sox lost their 20th straight game. I know that's not Pirates news, but there is every once in a while a time when you feel like you got it bad. It's nice to have a little reminder that the White Sox, they've got it bad right now. And the White Sox fans, as Pirate fans, I feel like we can kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? We feel bad for those White Sox fans in a way. We can relate a little bit. We've had those years when everything is just down. Feel for you, White Sox fans. And hopefully it gets better. I'm not close enough to the White Sox to know if there's a direction. They did not move two of their players that would get them the biggest returns. So I'm not sure, like they didn't do anything like the Marlins to really say like, okay, we've got some moves to make. This is wild. So anyway, let's talk about, let's start with some moves, because Thomas Harrington now in Indianapolis. And you've heard, if you've been listening to the show, you know that I'm a Harrington fan. He's a guy that I would not have wanted on the block. And so that's one that I'm excited for that move. We know the Bubba just got moved up as well. Harrington did give up 5 runs in his first start, though. 5 runs in his first start. It was today, Sunday. 3 runs in the second inning, 2 more in the 5th. He did finish the 5th inning, went into the 6th before he was taken out. Not really the most ideal way to get things started. But in that 5th inning, he gave up a 2-run homer to Spencer Torkelson. So, feel like, big league hitter there, or at least has been in the big leagues. So I guess that counts for something. You know what I mean? At least I would think it does. Sorry, clicking on something right there. All of a sudden in AAA, where it looked like maybe AA had the staff, all of a sudden in AAA, you've got Braxton Ashcraft, Bubba Chandler, Thomas Harrington, and Mike Burrows starting games for Indy. Don't hate that. And when you're looking at the staff at the major league level, and we're talking, when you start projecting, when you're talking prospects, you're projecting, and you start projecting forward, man, that's really not. It's not a bad thing to see a lineup like that or a staff like that going just one level below. I don't know that we'll see Ashcraft. I think you would see maybe Burrows this year. I don't know. I think he's only pitched in 2 games so far. I think that's your guess is as good as mine. I mean, you get some injuries, you're going to force their hand, but I don't think that we'll see Harrington or Chandler this year. In my opinion, I don't see that. Indy will be in Columbus in a couple weeks though. And I know we have tickets to go to there's a Wednesday day game. So got the day off work. I know we're going down for that. Just me and the wife. So that'll be a good one. But then there'll be some games that week that maybe we'll look into going down. I'll probably pay attention to who's starting what days and then look at what days we have things. I know Tuesday would be a day that I'd have to we'd have to get a sitter for, but it's open, so I might head down then. I think after that we'll take a look at who's pitching, maybe Friday, Saturday. Wednesday would be open too, but Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, kind of take a look and see who's pitching those days. Take the kids down to a game. That'd be a good time. So yeah, good things in Indy, I guess. Got a couple players down there too. Yeah, and so Michael 412 here says Chandler always a must watch. I am trying to think. I saw Holderman in spring training. I do not think I've seen Bubba yet. So I will definitely try to get down to whatever game he's pitching because that's one that I haven't gotten a chance to see. And really, even Harrington, I watched a full bullpen. We were standing out there when we were in Sarasota. He got into that game, but got an opportunity to see him. I remember seeing, at the time when we were in spring training, Jared Jones was still a prospect. And so Jim Rosati is in here. He was actually standing out there when I was watching the Harrington in Sarasota. We were out by the bullpen. So he saw Thomas Harrington's bullpen that day too. But speaking of bullpens, Pit City What says, bullpen needs help now. I'm excited about the farm kids, but it's a tad too late, I'm afraid, unfortunately. So we'll maybe see what he means by tad too late. Maybe for these guys moving to Indy, I don't know. Or to move them to the bullpen, I don't know. So we'll see. Let's get into the games this weekend because obviously I think there was as far as my feed and the conversations I've had with some people, there was one decision that a lot are holding on to, and it's going to lead us into kind of a conversation that I think needs to be had, and I think a lot of people have already been having it a while, and now they're going to be having it even more. Derek Shelton is going to get the hindsight is 2020 blame for Sunday's loss, I imagine. Sure, already has all of those things. If Holderman strikes out Jock Peterson, I think we still question the move. I think we still question, why are you having Holderman pitch to Jock Peterson? That's my feeling on it. When we were in the moment, I was like he walked the second guy, and I thought, I don't know about this at bat. Even after the strikeout, when Jock came up, we have a disclaimer here. I'm a big fan of Jock Peterson. I've loved him for a long time. I think he is super clutch, and the more veteran he gets, the more clutch he gets. And he showed up so many times. Even the walk, which I think we're going to talk about, I think I'll get to. Even the walk the night before when he hit the 2 foul balls. Just such a great at bat. And the assumption is, if you get Holderman out and you bring in Beeks, who was throwing, that they are going to switch it up to Grichuk. if Grichuk comes in and it's Beeks and Grichuk hits the home run, I think a lot of us still would have thought that was the right move. And I think that's when you take a look at a decision that a manager makes. And when you look at hindsight and think of those scenarios, because I like to think of that. Well, what would I have thought if had it gone different? I still think I would have questioned leaving Holderman in. And I think if it was Beeks, Grichuk, and Grichuk hits the home run, I think I would have sat back and said, I still would have done it. I would do it again if that was the scenario tomorrow. And so that's when I think you can say hindsight is 2020, yes, but at the same time, like, I think that we would have questioned that move regardless. And I think a lot of people were wondering in the moment what was going on. So hindsight's always 2020, but I think in this scenario, there's even a piece of us that maybe would have understood that move had it been made. The other caveat to this is what I was just talking about. The Jock Peterson, Jalen Beeks at bat the night before, where he, just foul for two that would have been big home runs, and he still ended up being walked, and it still was a super good at bat. So, like, I don't even know that that they even take Grichuk out in that scenario. They might go with Jock. So I don't know. I wonder. You'll never know, obviously, but like, I wonder, like, that same result could have been possible either way. And so that's kind of an interesting scenario there. The pitch. Okay. So the pitch wasn't bad. It wasn't great either. I mean, I get it. He's hitting 100. It's on the black, but it's not down. I think they wanted that down a little bit more. It's up in the middle of the zone. On the black, outside corner, right? So, like, kudos to Jock. I mean, that's what he does. He's a clutch hitter. He's going to hit that occasionally. I don't know. So I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here, and I'm going to try to get my mind into a place where I'm Derek Shelton, and I'm trying to, what can you get out of this? We've had Holderman struggling now for a short while, or maybe a little bit longer than a short while. It's been even worse lately, but he's got a job, Shelton, to get the best out of Colin Holderman. If you give him a chance and show him that you trust him, if he gets out of that, I think it goes a long way. It failed. And I want to be careful of not like overcomplicating this, but those kind of things are going to backfire sometimes. And you have to feel like with Holderman in a race, 2 months to go, which we'll get into, the patience has got to be wearing thin at this moment. And if it's not already worn, I don't know. We can look at pitches. We talked about this on the last big home run he gave up, and we're like, hey, not a terrible pitch. It's just that you came in and you threw a fastball to a pinch hitter who was geared up for a fastball. It wasn't a terrible pitch, but at the same time, pitch decision, maybe not there. In this case, we won't go there, but it's like you left it just a little bit up. And hitters get paid too, man. We have to consider in this scenario the 2 walks beforehand. If you take those 2 walks and put it into the whole equation, that's the big deal. If Jock Peterson hits a solo homer in that inning, you're still up 1 run. It doesn't kill you. The 2 walks, even though this isn't in order, chronological, even though they're not chronological, those 2 guys on base that he walked are the tying and go ahead runs, right? So obviously they're not chronologically, but you understand that if he gives up a home run to Jock Peterson without those 2 guys, you're still winning. So like you can say hitters get paid too. He hit the home run. It wasn't a terrible pitch, all that stuff. But if you don't walk those 2 guys, like this is still 100% on the situation, on Holderman, all those things. And so it's not just there. I will say about Holderman, and then as soon as I'm going to finish this thought, and then we've got some chat stuff here, and I'm going to sift through that and see where we're at on this. But The best solution at this point is for Holderman to figure this thing out and get right. That's the best solution. The guy has the talent. It's not well, these games mean way too much, let's DFA the guy. Like, that's silly. He needs to get right. He's been right this season. And I don't know. I mean, we got to remember that this guy started off the season like in the hospital with this sickness, and he didn't come up for a while. I guess there's a scenario where if he is fatigued from something like that, maybe there is a chance they can consider some kind of IL stint. The problem with that is that's 15 days. You're saying you want to go 2 weeks without a guy that, I don't know, like if you can put him in a mop-up role for a week, does he get something figured out? I don't know. If you wait and then you make the decision, then you're pushed even further back. So do you go for it now? There's a lot of things to consider. It is 2 full weeks. And there's a dangerous run of games coming up that I don't know where I'm at with it. Let me check some of the comments here. We got Jim's got a lot of them out here. So Jim's got a lot. He had his post-game show today. I know he was on there for NS9, but he's got some things here. We got Gary, we got Drew. So let's see what a couple of things here. It's tough to get on Shelton too much, but he's the manager. He didn't get the job done. I think that's fair. And you're leaving a little bit of room there. Jim would have gone Beaks. Yep, 3 straight games. When Jock hit the long foul ball the pitch before, I had the worst feeling. Drew's saying, wasn't worried about leaving in Colin Holderman for the RBI single, was worried about the potential homer. Gary says, we question everything when we lose. I didn't want to see Beeks face Peterson again either. So, I mean, that's a good point. Like we talked, hindsight's 2020, and he's saying, if they leave Peterson in, basically you just don't want to see Peterson in the game right there. That's all there is to it. And so totally makes sense. I guess the only outlook is if they go to Grichuk, I would take that matchup. I just don't want to see Peterson in that situation. Pit City What says, from the outside looking in, did it work? Takes precedence over did it make sense? Got to put it on Shelton. I think so. That's the thing is I'm from the outside looking in. I'm also trying to take an approach where I would say, like, because that's the decision making. I don't know if you gotta put it on. I mean, like I said, the blame's gonna go there, but like in the end, the players have to execute. So I don't think that like it's always this way, but I do agree in this scenario. Holderman's been struggling. I think that's why it's like, yeah, you can tell him to execute, but like this has been a thing. Kind of like this. At the end of the day, well, we'll get into this, Jim. Through the season, I don't know about that, but we'll get into it. 59 and 52 right now if Holderman doesn't blow 3 straight games. That's a huge swing. That's a huge swing. I'm not saying somebody else wouldn't have blown one of them or something, but we would be in the wild card spot. So Mike says that Kyle Nicholas just moved up to the setup man, in my opinion. A lot of good things there. Yeah, this is a big thing. Pit City What says Majinski being out is killing us. That's very true. I think that's a huge depth piece in there. I don't know what I didn't look into it beforehand. I probably should have, but like some of the options that if they did go with some sort of general fatigue IL stint, who's next, who's stepping up, and maybe some of you guys are looking at that right now, and you can look that up, and we can check that out. But yeah, it's a hard line. I mean, managers that's their job. They get the blame. You make a decision that backfires. A lot of times that's just the way it goes. Players have to execute. It's the same thing we talk about development and roster building and all this stuff. I think this roster would be in a completely different situation had players like Ke'Bryan Hayes and Jack Sawinski, and I'm just going to pick on those two for now. But like, had they had just even average seasons. This season looks different. I mean, you might say we were 59-52 if that's the case, or better. So I think there's, you could say, well, they didn't do enough to make this team good. Now, in fairness, we didn't think their pitching was going to be this good either until we got our guys here. But Bailey Falter, I mean, none of us had that on our bingo board. But you know what I mean? It's just the thing. The managers, like, that's what they get paid to do, is kind of take the brunt of it. And I think lately there's been a lot of conversation, which is kind of surprising because it doesn't always happen, but there's been a lot of credit given to Derek Shelton recently. So I think, when you're doing that, then it's a clean slate to also say, no, this is a bad one. We got some nicknames for Jack Swinsky out there. I'm a Jack Swinsky fan, and Jim, you were too. I don't think that he sucks. I think it's a bad year. That's my take. We're not going to get into Jack Swinsky. Sherrod brings up, we still had a chance to win in the 9th. This is a big thing. I mean, you look at the 2 games in this series, and really even go back to the Astros series. We come up 1 run short there. We had an opportunity to sweep the Astros. We come into this game defending NL champs, if you want to make it sound better, if you want to. But this is in both games that we lost this weekend, we were down 1 going into the 9th and gave up an extra run. And that told the story because we scored 1 run in the 9th, in the bottom of the 9th in both of those games. And it's just, you were there and you had to feel like if that doesn't change, but we're still able to get 1. This team's not short of fight. It's still a good team. We'll see how far it goes. They've got lessons to learn. Man, that's a big, giving up those runs in the top of the 9th there is a huge swing, and it plays pretty big. So let me I wrote a couple things down here, and I want to make sure that I'm fact checking myself. The Diamondbacks lead the league with 57 runs, or 58 now, 58 runs scored in the 9th inning. This is a good team too. We saw this, how many clutch home runs. Ketel Marte is a stud, and he showed up big. Katie, my wife Katie, does not like him anymore, just based off the fact that he's good and he hurt us. So, it's all of that. So, how we want to talk how we're feeling here, and here we go. Bucko Mike's in here, and usually I've been telling him be patient, but this goes back to patience is thin or completely worn out. So I won't argue you today. It's bad. It's bad. Anyway, check this out. August 4th, 2023, the Giants had a 3-game lead for the first wild card spot, basically where the Braves are now. The Phillies had a 1-game lead in that. They were in the 2nd spot, and the Reds held the last spot on August 4th last year. At the end of the season, it was Phillies, Marlins, Diamondbacks. The Giants ended up, who were 3 games up, 3-game lead for that first wild card spot. They ended up 5 games back from the Diamondbacks on August 4th. The Reds held that last spot too. On August 14th, so 10 days from now, the Diamondbacks were 3.5 games back in the wild card race, with the Marlins holding that spot. And then you fast forward to the end of the month, August 30th, I think for like 3 straight days, even the Marlins had fallen down to 3 games back at the last week of August for like I said, like 3 straight days. They were 3 games back, and the Diamondbacks were only 1 game out. The Marlins had a spot, fell to 3 games out during August, still got in the postseason, and got the 2nd spot over the Diamondbacks, who were ahead of them at the end of the month. we can talk about must-win games, and I agree with that to an extent until we start disagreeing on what makes it a must-win game. Is it must-win for your confidence? Is it must-win to validate trades? Is it must-win because the season ends? Because the season doesn't end tomorrow. There are still 50 more baseball games that the Pirates, 51 technically for the Pirates to play. And I had 3 people tell me this weekend, specifically I think 2 of them today and 1 on Friday, that the season is over. It's completely over. We're 3.5 games back of the wild card on August 4th with 51 games to play, and the season is completely over. Forgive me for not signing up for that. I just don't see it that way. I'm looking at, I only had to go 1 year back, and which is an easy one because we're talking about that extra wild card spot. But like, what a swing. I mean, the Giants, that's an 8-game swing for the Giants. From 3 games up to 5 games back at the end of the season. The Marlins, who were down, I think, a few games, and then went up into a spot, dropped all the way down to 3 by the end of August, and still ended up getting a second spot above the Diamondbacks, who 10 days from now on the calendar were 3.5 back in the wild card race. Anything can happen, and that's not... The American League was boring last year. It felt like after the first week we knew who was everywhere, but it's just the idea that like 51 games is a lot of games. And I'll even say this, like for those of us who love watching baseball because we love baseball, like 51 games. I have 51 opportunities to watch a baseball game this summer with my favorite team playing. Bonus that they're really good, or that they're, let me back up that. Bonus that they're playing meaningful games, that they are in it, or at least within reach. Saying that it's over now is very premature, and we don't have to go far to see that be absolutely true. So I guess for those that only watch when the team is winning, I mean, it's still a fun team to watch. I mean, even when O'Neal Cruz has moments that he has, like then he has a 5-hit game, and then just any time he hits, I mean, there's still a lot of excitement there and some of the stories and whatever. And we talked about the fight. We talked about the fight that this team has and how they're just never giving up, as Jim said. So let me check a couple things here. Here we go. This is my buddy Jeff, and we do have a championship softball game tomorrow. I love that. And I'm gonna play. Coming out of my calf injury, I can handle first base tomorrow. Took some ground balls today, so we're hoping I don't get hurt. But I can handle first base tomorrow. Pit City What says Diamondbacks are a good team, very good manager, unfortunate weekend. So this is kind of like it's level-headed. It makes sense. We got, you know what? We got Gary. Let's go to this. How do we all feel about De La Cruz straight up being the starter? Miss Palacios here and there. I definitely do. I mean, he's been there in the dugout, and I was going to make a comment about like what he brings to the morale. So he's still there, but like those at bats and certain plays that he makes. Let's see if we can track down everything here that was said. Jim says Brian De La Cruz has to be the everyday guy. I like Palacios, but very low doses of him. I think there are scenarios though where I am going to Palacios in certain moments. I think there's times where, we've seen Ji-Hwan Bae in the game in certain scenarios. I think I could give Palacios every one of Bae's at bats right now. I understand he hit one. Joe Block made the comment about the pop being there, and I'm like, that's because he swings as hard as he can every single time he swings. I just don't get that. But maybe a little Pit City What saying, can he play center field? Depends on how you define can. Can he play it as good as Bae? I don't see any right now bringing up Bae. Maybe I'm missing it, but for me, that's where I'm thinking is all of Bay's at bats right now, I think can go to Palacios. And I feel like that would be, I think that De La Cruz is still going to be there. I think that you could see some innings. I mean, well, wait a minute. Let me check the box score before I say this next thing. This is very important. 1. I'm counting 1. Nothing there. So Mike Taylor had 1 RBI this weekend. I believe on Friday's show, I said that if he has 3 RBIs this weekend or hits a home run during Skeen's start, he gets Michael back. So still Mike Taylor for now, but he's been hot as of lately. His average has dipped back below 200. So he's got a little work to do, but I think with the way that he's been playing in center field, he's going to get the most of the time there. But I think if you get into a scenario late in a game and you have an opportunity to give Palacios an at-bat there, I don't know, man. He's got the flair for the dramatic. The math isn't mathing very nicely right now. See, that's where I disagree. I mean, 3.5 games out, and we just looked at the Marlins, who were 3 games out at the end of the month. And I just don't think, I don't think that that's the case. I think that there's still 3.5 games can swing in a week, let alone 50 games and 2 months almost of baseball. Division is we're 6 games back in the division right now. Like when we're 6 games back in the division. I mean, without Yelich, we don't know what's going to happen with the Brewers, all that stuff. And I think that, obviously that's something to watch, but it's certainly not as far as the math is concerned. It's math is in favor of the wild card, especially considering that there's 3 of those spots and only 1 of the division. But, and okay, so for clarification, not necessarily the games, it's the teams. We've seen these types of swings. If the Diamondbacks and the Padres remain hot the rest of the year, I'll be surprised if there's nothing else that changes on that front. So I think there's a little bit there. But yeah, the teams are good. The Padres, are they almost earning like Padres are going to Padres, like the Mets are going to Met? Are they almost there? I don't know. Probably not. I think every year's new. Are the Mets going to Met? I mean, I feel like that's a question right now too, because they are in between us and those teams. So there's a scenario where it's there. I mean, the Pirates were just so close on their last 3 losses. Their 1-run losses, these types of wins, or these types of losses rather, can swing at any moment. Now, and I'm being optimistic right now. I'm trying not to be overly optimistic at the same time, but I also just think that, like, whether I think they're going to actually get there or not, there's still a path to get there, and they're not that far out yet. And I think there's more. I think the must-win games are more like today. I considered it a must-win game because you want to win series. The Houston game, I didn't see that. You want to do a sweep. That's huge for momentum. That's huge for morale. So I think there's things like that. But as far as that goes, I just don't know. Here's a Bay comment. We got a couple of them here. Side note, I actually thought that Bay hit a game-tying homer today. I was fooled. Balls are dead. Balls are definitely dead. Bay to instructionals. I'd much rather see Palacios over Bay. So we do have some of that. So that's what I think, the Palacios stuff. But Shared says, it's early but disappointed with the 2 traded additions to the lineup. It is early. I'll say that. It's early. Sit on that for a minute, because it's not complete. Like, you can't base anything off of essentially one series. I know De La Cruz had another one. But I have to say this, because Joe Block called this whole series on TV. When he says De La Cruz, it sounds like he's saying Dylan Cruz. it kills me. I don't know if anybody else heard that, but I was like, Dylan Cruz. I don't know why. I had to bring it up. Don't know why that. That's what I do. Playoff odds have our division odds higher than our wild card odds. So when you look at Fangraphs playoff odds, it is in our favor. You can't tell the future. They got to play the games. You're right. I mean, it's fine. Gary says the numbers look fine as long as they're playing so many head-to-head against those they have to jump. That's a big one. That's why losing a series is and feels so huge. And that's another reason why I was saying that this Sunday game felt more must-win than the Wednesday Astros game, right? Because the Diamondbacks are a team that we actually need to lose games rather than like just needing us to win. And we're still there. I mean, we've got the Padres coming. You have to win a series like this because it does double the work. And then you're sitting right there again, 3.5. I mean, where are the Padres at? Are they a game? They're only a half a game above the Diamondbacks. So with them a half a game above the Diamondbacks, we're 4 back. So essentially you sweep them, you knock them out, you put the Mets in, and now you're behind whatever the Mets are. So that's why the head-to-head games are so important for that reason. Pitt City, what? But Paul and Mitch just pitched, and Ortiz looked shaky. I'm a bit scared this week. That's fair. It's not great matchups. And that might actually be another reason why. I mean, it really, let's back this up. Like, when Paul Skeens throws, you have to win. And that seems ridiculous to say. But, like, it feels that way. It feels like if you don't win those games, then you're not giving enough credit to the rest of the pitching staff, but that's what it feels like. It's fine for things to feel one way. That's true. Jim brings up the fact that if it goes to a tiebreaker, there are no more play-in games. So like if you get to 162 and the season ends and you're tied with Arizona, they will just get the spot, even if you have the same record because of that. So if we would have gone on to, what's the secondary level of that? Does it go after that? It goes to the league record since it's wild card. Is that right? And it's not expanded. So the Diamondbacks currently against AL/NL. Well, it's going to be NL. So they're 15-17 against the NL, and we're 14-17. So even closer there. That if you beat them and you're even, then you go to 15-16 and they drop to 15-18 or 14-18. And so that would be a huge swing there because then the tiebreaker would go in your favor. But now, yeah, and there's another Bucko Mike saying they're going to own the tiebreaker now. So we play San Diego twice this month, or do we play them in September? Well, just right here. Yeah, that's right. It's San Diego, LA, San Diego, 100%. So yeah, I mean, you got to go 4-2 here. You got to take both series. Makes it a little easier if you sweep them at home, but yeah, you absolutely. This is one of those scenarios where this run is going to be very important. Dodgers kind of not playing well right now. Is that right? Feels doable. Yeah, 4-6 in their last 10. So that's good. But yeah, they gotta go 4-2 against San Diego here. And these are the things like this is what's gonna tell the story of their season. These are the types of things. So even though we're in August, we have to look at that as we call it must win. All those things, right? But like that, this is what tells the story. This is where they go from here. This is when we're going to look back. Those are the types of things we're going to look back to. I don't think that we're going to, today's game, you could look back to this if they're tied, right? So if all those stars align, you're going to look back and say, well, geez, you had that. And it goes to Friday and Sunday, really. And then also, I just keep going back to the fact that we got swept by the A's. We don't get swept by the A's. This changes too. So now we've got broadcaster conversations going on. Always good. I will say this, Jake's a big Joe Block fan just because Jake's a big voice fan and he loves his voice. But yeah. AI. I like this idea. Let's go AI in the booth. I don't like this idea. I don't. Interdivision record is second tiebreaker. Do you think that's stupid? Oh wait, here we go. Gary says league win. That's what I thought. I was going to say it shouldn't be interdivision because then you're not comparing apples to apples. Okay. All right, so we got San Diego. We have the pitching matchups. I don't have those tabs open. Do we have them listed yet? No, we don't. So Falter, Gonzalez, Ortiz. I think Ortiz is fine. I think we've liked what he's been doing. I mean, I think that he had one start, and really, in that start, he bounced back and kind of went through the rest of the way. So, I don't know, man. What is NA? Is that another nickname for Falter here? Or maybe, oh, okay. He just forgot about Falter. All right, we're good. I was just afraid that we were getting another Bucko Mike nickname on that one. So, Cubs finished off St. Louis. So, I mean, it still comes down to Arizona, right? That's what we're talking about. It still comes down to you had to beat Arizona specifically. Sure, it gets you a game and all those guys are dropping and all that thing, but I think as far as the games back go, there's still time. 51 games is still a lot of games left. I think it's more or less that tiebreaker that makes it so important. I think that is the good point. And I hadn't thought of that really until we were going into this. So that's a good one. So Rob thinks we should try to cheat against San Diego. That's a good. So that's good. That's good. I'm going to double down here. I'm going to go back to the season's not over. It's fine. There's 50 games left. Take care of what we can take care of. See how the chips fall. I think that everything plays out in 162 games. I think that's why baseball's right. I think that's why there's that many games. And I think you figure it out in the end. It doesn't happen very often, the tiebreakers and all that stuff, right? I mean, let's if I go back to last year, were there any tiebreakers even in play? No. Maybe the Rangers-Astros for the division. But did they not finish the season against each other? I felt like they were, or at least like the next to last series was against each other. So they kind of had that opportunity to play that one out, but I don't remember. But none of the wild cards, they all finished one game under. So it wasn't there. This is a good question at this point. Jim says, I think we win 85 games. I'm sticking with that, but I don't think it'll be enough. I got my thing says there's 9 people watching live right now. Just type a number in there. What are we doing? What are we thinking for wins at the end of the year? We're sitting one game up. We're 56-55, right? What are we thinking ends the season win-wise? And is it enough? I like thinking through this. So at the beginning of the season, Jake picked 84 wins. And he said that might be enough to get the division. I think he said he likes to do his wild things there. And I had, I think, 78 wins. And I thought the pitching was going to be terrible. So I guess There's that. But if you were to adjust right now, whatever you said preseason, if you were to adjust, so Drew says he said 83, still says 83. 83 is not enough. 83 shouldn't be enough. Even the Diamondbacks last year getting in at 84, like that just shouldn't get it done. That's just the way I feel about it. When I saw the Diamondbacks are getting out, they made their run. They were National League champs. I get it. And they played well all the way through. But I think 162 tells you, and I just thought that was adding that extra team and having that team go in at the American League last spot was taken by an 89 win team. Like, that's fine. I did not like 84. I hope that 83 does not get it done. Jim said 85 in the division at the beginning of the year. I do remember that. Sticking with 85, but you're saying it's not going to do it. Nobody saw the Brewers being here. I think if we look back, I might have even had the Brewers in last. They're going to take a big step down. Pit City What says 82, but could see a bit more. Rob says 30 and 21 get it done. Give us them 86 wins. So 30 and 21, if the Pirates are going to make the postseason, and I think maybe 86 gets them in at this point. I mean, we've seen how these teams that are ahead of us right now, I'm still on 2023 on my standings here. The teams that are ahead of us, like they've had the Braves are scuffling a little bit right now. They're old. They're right there with everyone else. They just have one less loss. They're still only a half game above the Diamondbacks right now. So like everybody's right there in play, 3.5 or 4 games out. And so the National League has been so inconsistent this year. And it is kind of working out that those guys are separating themselves, but anything is in play. If this team can get to 86, then yeah, I think it has a chance to get them in. You have 5 teams to jump. You have 3 teams to jump, but you have 5 teams ahead of you right now. And I mean, like I said, we saw the Giants last year did an 8-game swing from this day to the end of the year. So it's certainly possible for a couple of those teams, especially if you take care of business against the Padres, then all of a sudden you've knocked them down and you're in there. Do we play the Mets again? I know we have 4 games against the Cardinals next month, but I don't think we play the Mets in September. No, we don't play the Mets in September. So you have 4 games against the Cardinals and that's it. But when you think of 30 and 21, I mean, we have a 4-game series against the Reds after the West Coast trip. And then we've got 3 against the Cubs, 3 more against the Cubs, 4 against the Nationals, 3 against the Marlins. And then you go Royals, Cardinals, Reds again. If you're in a position to be chasing the Brewers, you play them the next to last series, and then the Yankees, who might be playing for something or not. But I don't know. It's a real mixed schedule. If they go on a run, and there are moments there to go on runs, and we've seen this team go on runs against good teams, but 30 and 21, if all you have to do is hit like an 8-game winning streak, and then also don't hit a losing streak, and yeah, I mean you could even go 5-game winning streak and don't lose more than 3 games or more than 2 games in a row, and I could see. I mean, for 50 games, that's there. His arm may have fallen off. I don't know that we'll see him. But yeah, so 86 wins. I know we've got more out there. What are we thinking here? 30 and 21. I mean, I'd have to sit here and look at the actual math to see where I'm at with it, but like I'd have to sit there and look at the series. And I mean, it's Reds, Cubs, Marlins, 4 against the Nationals, which the Nationals are kind of hit and miss, right? I mean, they've had some times where they're playing pretty hot too. Yeah. I think somewhere in that range. I'll go 83, and I don't think it's enough. 83 gets, well, that's basically 500 ball, isn't it? I mean, 82 and 80 is if you play 500 ball the rest of the way. Is that right? Or I guess it can't, 51 games, so you can't really. So, but like 25 or 26 and 25, if you do that. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Yes, Jim. Sounds like you are the most optimistic here. But I think I'm backing off on that because that means that this team is going to play like 27 and 20. I'm really bad at these numbers just flying off the handle like this, but Bucko Mike says 82 if they're lucky, and if that means if they're lucky, they're going to be less than they're going to be under 500 the rest of the way out. Yeah, Drew says if we're still in contention the final 3 days of the season, the New York Yankees series will be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun. I didn't hear this. Ghost Guy says the absolute audacity of Shelton to say it was the umps. I knew that he said he was mad. I missed the ump comment. He also says if Shelton and Holderman keep blowing games, it'll be 75 and 87. Yeah, if they have a chance to clinch, yeah, I'm with you, Jim. If they have a chance to clinch, it's going to be really hard for me not to go. He's saying about going to a Yankees game. I'm with you. I'm with you. That would be hard. I would be trying to see what I could do there. Pit City What is already going to the Yankees game on 9/28. That's awesome. So, yeah, I got to do math. If they could go 28 and 23, that's the 84 wins. That's got to be doable. I mean, it's got to be doable. I think unless there's a collapse, I see them getting to 84. I'll say that. It's not enough this year, though. There's too many teams that would have to fall down, but I will go 84, and I don't think it's enough. Yeah. So, okay, here we go. So, Drew said the overturned auto strike with Gurriel Beeks was less than ideal. There's been so many things that have happened this year that have felt, even like Holderman going off the field, yelling at the ump and everything. And I'm like, I don't remember some like major calls there. There's going to be missed calls. It really felt to me like Holderman was just mad. So Ghost Guy says the same thing. He did say something about how Holderman was screwed by the umps in that inning. Strike zone was pretty bad. But like bad calls are going to happen. I don't know. I guess if I just went on saying it's about the 2 walks before. If those 2 walks shouldn't have been walks, like I get that, because then, that kind of defeats that whole thing where if those were good pitches. But I saw there was calls all day today. I felt like the low part of the zone was just being called a ball most of the night or most of the day from what I saw. I did watch like 4 innings on my phone. So I may have missed little things like that because I can't. You're getting old when you're like, the phone's not getting it done for me anymore. Like I gotta be in front of the TV. Phone's just not getting it done. I had cataract surgery here. I can't see anything up close. Yeah, I know. I'm 75 years old apparently. I can't see anything up close with this eye. It's brutal. Not even my computer screen. So it's like this is an adjustment. Mike says 85 wins. Sherrod says 83 wins. Doesn't get it done. We got a couple more of those in there. So, Bucko Mike says these next 9 biggest games of the year. I think every single next 9 games are the biggest games of the year if you're still in it. They really are. It doesn't matter who you're playing. The biggest games are always the ones that you have yet to play. Those are the only ones you can control anything with. And Jim is going to 4 of the next 9. There's no such thing as a curse, Jim. Have fun. Go to those games and enjoy yourself. I don't believe in it. So you're good. Ghost Guy Holderman should not be playing at this time. So if I know, because you're usually active in the chat and you seem to be coming in here, go back and listen when we're done here. Go back and listen. We did talk a lot about Holderman and kind of like some of that stuff. So go back and touch on that stuff. But we are not, according to Bucko Mike, we're eliminated. We're not. Rob says the Seattle series is going to be unwatchable. Someone may throw a complete game shutout and lose. So there you go. All right, let's get this thing wrapped up. I appreciate you guys being here in the chat and everything. I wanted to take some time and make sure we get some of that stuff in there at the end. And I always appreciate anybody who's out, especially days that I'm running this thing solo. I like to, anytime there's a lot of good chat, it's very helpful. So I don't mind doing it anymore because of it. That's the good thing. But yeah, let's keep our heads up. Mike says, thank you for doing the show. Really, really the therapy a lot of us needed after what happened today. I think the past several years, I think there's a lot of podcasts that we all watch, and it's either we want to be excited with somebody or we just want to hear them complain because I don't have anybody to complain to at home. There's a lot of shows. And I think that the Pirate, now I don't go listening to other teams' podcasts, but I think that like as Pirate fans, I think that we're pretty fortunate to have a nice group of guys that all kind of bring some different things to the table. So go listen to other podcasts. Gary was in here today from Fan Forum. Jim Rosati was there in here from NS9. Michael 412 from the 412 Double Play podcast. Am I missing anybody that were just in here today? But there's so many more. There's good podcasts out there for the Pirates, and it's definitely a good time. And we all kind of need that therapy because, sometimes it's nice to get to hear somebody else yell about your team, or maybe take it to, we try to stay a little more positive within reason. And so it's, it's not like we're going to say like, oh yeah, no, they're still really awesome. Like, no, it's not that. It's just that like, we try to say, go through the process, all that stuff. We try to just look at through it lens of, I love baseball. I'm going to watch baseball anyway. And so we just try to stay as positive as we can, which hasn't always been easy for the Pirates. So I appreciate you guys being around. And like I said, check everybody else out too. Ghost Guy's been to some games here too. Said he sprained his ankle. So Ghost Guy Explorations, like you do all these like explorations and you go out in the woods and you go see a bunch of stuff and then you walk into the game and you sprain your ankle. I think that's the way it always happens, right? I think that's the way it always happens. It's never doing what you really want to do. Although my calf injury did happen when I was playing. So that is fair. But yeah, we're going to get going here. I really appreciate you guys. I'm going to play some music here. There we go. And thanks for sticking around. I think that Thursday, as I look at my dates here, I think we might be Jakeless on Thursday. So maybe I'll get somebody in here Thursday or next Sunday. Either one of them. Maybe I'll get somebody in here and have some Padres talk, Dodgers talk coming up. So thanks, guys. Always appreciate it. Please hit the like button, subscribe, all those good things. I'll let Keely tell you about it.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucs.